I think what Joe is leading into is really the point, right? The underlying belief that we need to do something and something significant is what my constituency, I think what Michigan and what much of the country believes. And there is no doubt that I believe he's going to go down the path of talking about promises made and promises kept. No one should be surprised at the direction that he's gone. This is probably the most transparent president we've ever had in the modern era about what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. So, how is he going to message this back in Michigan? I think it's exactly that. Look, there might be some bumps in this road, whether it's in the automotive industry, whether it's in tourism, agriculture, which are the three biggest drivers of the Michigan economy. It's manufacturing, agriculture, and tourism. We're going to get to the end of this tunnel, and I think it's going to be optimistic.
Depends who you ask, Congressman. It's great to see you, by the way, and have you back on Bloomberg. It depends on who you ask when it comes to the auto tariffs, and you're right in the middle of it here in Michigan. At least the conventional wisdom is you ask people in the C-suites at the automakers, and they're going to give you a big thumbs down here because this hurts business. The workers, we're told, love it. And Donald Trump may get an earful on that when he's in Michigan tomorrow night. Where are you?
Yeah, well, to your point, the UAW has come out and publicly supported what the president is doing. And so I represent over on the west side of the state a tremendous number of the suppliers that go into the Detroit 3 and a lot of the other foreign badges. And unfortunately, over the decades, there had been a requirement. You had to offshore. You had to go south. You had to co-locate with some of these other plants. Otherwise, you were just like literally taken off the list. And I've got some suppliers who fought against that and who remained U.S. and U.S. only based in their production, and they're looking around going, look, this is the right thing to do for our workers and for the American economy. And so seeing that, whether it's Honda announcing that they're bringing the Civic back to Indiana, you've got Stellantis, you've got GM, you've got Ford that are all talking about altering and how they're doing their production. Those suppliers are doing the same thing. So are there going to be some bumps in the road? Absolutely. Is it good in the long run? I think so. Now, the question is how do we get through this? And at the end of the day, based on watching Donald Trump for 4 years in his first term, watching how he operates in this term, and just knowing in general how he operates, he is someone who is looking for that deal. It is the art of the deal, right? And he is not going to just simply sit back and let things stay static. He does want to move ahead and get to these agreements. And whether it's the Swiss, whether it's Japan, whether it's India, those are some significant things that are going to continue to move down the road. Obviously, China is going to be the big one.
Well, and we're talking, Congressman, about President Trump being the center of all of this. As he gets ready to mark these 100 days, he does so having signed more than 100 executive orders, having taken all of this action on tariffs, despite that constitutional authority technically relying on Congress or lying with Congress. When do we expect actual legislative efforts to really step up? Knowing a reconciliation fight is ahead of you, why would anyone be confident that that fight can come to a swift conclusion, given there hasn't been that much legislation coming out of Capitol Hill so far?
Well, we've had a few things going on, Kayleigh, trying to keep the government open. We've got a debt ceiling that's ahead. We've got appropriations that are happening. The reconciliation, the quote unquote one big beautiful bill is a significant thing. I had a chance to talk to the president this morning briefly, where we talked a little bit about what's happening. My Financial Services Committee is going to be marking up on Wednesday. The Ed and Labor is doing tomorrow, and a few others are doing tomorrow. The big ones are going to be both in Ways and Means and Energy and Commerce. And so there's progress that's being made on those. The Senate has had to get through their appointments process. That's consumed a lot of their time and effort, as it should be. And so we're going to be able to do this. It's going to be fast. I can tell you the pace out here, it ain't the pace that we saw in the last 4 years. I can tell you that. It's very rapid, very active, but we're ready for this.
You mentioned you talked to the president this morning, Congressman. Did he invite you to the rally tomorrow? Are you meeting him on the tarmac?
That was one of the reasons I was kind of calling and asking. Unfortunately, because of the work that we have here, he put out a Truth Social asking us to stay here back in Washington and get that work done. I don't happen to have a committee work that happens until Wednesday, so I could theoretically go out and do that. Look, we think there's going to be an exciting announcement around Selfridge Air Force Base in Michigan, and obviously this rally, which is going to be more political in nature. He's returning back home to where the home of the Reagan Democrats, those Macomb County Union households who came out in droves for Donald Trump this last election and in previous elections. He's going back, and I think it's there to celebrate it with them, and I think that's a good thing for Michigan.
Well, and we'll be covering it fully here on Bloomberg TV and radio tomorrow, whatever remarks the president makes. But Congressman, to the point that the president wants you and your colleagues to stay there, be doing the work on reconciliation, he also has made it clear, most recently in the interview that published with Time Magazine just a few days ago, that he does not want to see Medicaid touched as part of this process, or at least for those who are eligible. How confident are you that this process, when it all is said and done, will not have hurt anyone's eligibility or made cuts beyond just the waste, fraud, and abuse we often hear about?
Well, okay, Kaylee, you just hit on the key phrase on that: waste, fraud, and abuse. And I believe that has to be looked at. I mean, what a disservice to the taxpayer. Frankly, what a disservice to those that legitimately need this help when we knowingly turn a blind eye, which I would argue that has happened over the last number of years. And we've got to go in and make sure that safety net is there for those that need the safety net. And so I fully support that. The president's been very clear on that, whether it's in Social Security, whether it's in Medicare, Medicaid. Look, I sat for 6 years in the state capitol in Michigan, in Lansing, and it's a partnership. Medicare and Medicaid are a partnership with the states and the feds. So the states have to be doing their part as well. But I'm very confident that, as the president said, that core function of those things is not going to get touched. In fact, I would argue, as we tighten that up and make sure that the waste, the fraud, the abuse, and the ineligible people that are currently drawing on the systems, that they get pushed out and squeezed out, it's going to be able to give greater ability to then give that benefit to those that really, truly deserve it and need it.